and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chantel, as always, and as usual, I'm going to be talking about some books today. Today I'm going to be talking about my reading plans slash pile of possibilities for April, and also I'm going to talk about some books that I purchased in the last month, basically since the last time I did a book haul type video. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. I don't know that this is gonna be a particularly long video because I haven't bought a whole lot of books, and also, as usual, my quote-unquote TBR, or pile of possibilities, for the month is like, it's not super different from what it was last month, since, you know, basically all of the books that I mentioned last month that I haven't read yet are still on my TBR this month. They just continue to be on my TBR until I read them. So, but I do have a few things to talk about. So first of all, I do want to talk about the books that I purchased in the last month or so, basically since the last video I did where I talked about books that I bought. I didn't buy a ton, but I have bought a few. First of all, I did, my local library has a little spot in sort of the entranceway where they have some bookshelves and some used books for sale, just as like for a suggested donation or something. And I found this copy of The Kite Runner on those shelves a few weeks ago when I was at the library. And it's like, you know, $1 for a paperback or whatever. So I just grabbed it and stuck $1 in the slot, because I've, you know, heard a lot of things about The Kite Runner and I'd like to read it at some point, and this copy was just sitting there for $1, so I got it. I also picked up some nonfiction this month. I caught a little bit of a sale on Amazon on some lightly used books. So I picked up some Michel Foucault. I have read some Michel Foucault, but certainly not by any means like a large amount of Michel Foucault. Foucault was a historian, a literary critic, a cultural theorist, philosopher, I guess, kind of, I don't know, almost, just sort of a thinker and intellectual. And these nice vintage editions of Foucault were I caught them sort of on sale and on a deal. Yeah, two of them I've already read. So I've read, this is Discipline and Punish, which I've already read. Yeah, it's a really good book about, yeah, what it says on the cover: punishment, mostly, you know, state punishment against, you know, people the state deems to be criminal, and the birth of the prison. So the shift from basically, you know, like, you know, if you're a thief, they cut off your hand and then set you free. If you're a murderer, they just execute you, to like this entire prison system that we have. So it's a really interesting book. I've read it before, and I just picked it up because I didn't already own it. And also, the other one I've read before is History of Sexuality, Volume 1. This is just the introduction. I believe there's at least 3 other volumes in this History of Sexuality. I have not read them, but yeah, this is a really interesting and seminal work in sexuality studies and gender studies. And yeah, I read this in college, and so again, I didn't have a copy of it, so I picked it up. And then the one that I bought that I am planning to read and haven't read yet is Madness and Civilization. This is, yeah, History of Insanity in the Age of Reason. So this is, yeah, sort of a historical look at the ways in which Western culture, Western society has sort of constructed the idea of insanity, and how we have dealt with it sort of broadly as a culture. I'm reading this mostly because, well, one of the Goodreads, or not Goodreads, the Storygraph genre challenge prompts this year is to read a nonfiction book about psychology. And I was like trying to find something that I thought would work for that prompt. And like most psychology books are either like they're way too technical for me, or they're way too specific for me to really want to delve into them, or they're like quackery and self-help nonsense, which I also don't really want to deal with. But then I realized that Foucault had written a little bit about, basically had written this, and I was like, this counts, right? This is close enough, right? So so yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit of this. Yeah, I think Foucault is a really interesting thinker. He has some really interesting ideas. There are certain sort of like cultural thinkers and intellectuals that I am particularly interested in, just their ideas and their thoughts. And Foucault is one of them. And I have, you know, I've been familiar with him since like my undergrad days. Yeah, it's you know, he's interesting, has interesting ideas, and certainly is one of the intellectual thinkers that has sort of helped shape my worldview. So I'll be interested to read this at some point this year, probably. It's a short little book. It shouldn't take me long. And then I also picked up the next two Robin Hobbs that I have to read. These are the other two in the Farseer trilogy that I started in February. I have started reading the second one, Royal Assassin, already, because we're going to be discussing this, and Leanne's going to be hosting the discussion of it probably late this month at some point. So I have already started reading this one, and then of course within the next couple months after that I'm going to be reading Assassin's Quest. So I just went ahead and picked up both of them. So yeah, that's good. Again, these are, you know, I don't know if I have anything to say about them except that I am very excited to read them. As you may know, I read the first one, Assassin's Apprentice, and I loved it. It was fully a 5-star read, 10 out of 10, no notes. And so I'm really excited to, I just have barely today dipped my toes back into the world of these books. And I'm very excited to really find out what happens next with Fitz and the Fool and all of our other really fascinating characters. And then, since I was at Barnes & Noble buying those anyway, and I saw this on an end cap and I didn't already own it, I picked up Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology, because I said I didn't already own this. It was sitting there on an end cap, and that's my problem in Barnes & Noble, and pretty much any bookstore, honestly, is it's hard for me to resist when something is just sitting right there and I want it. I've already started listening to this, because I was actually telling my friend about that I'd purchased this today, and they said, oh yeah, that's one of those books that I listen to like all the time. And I was like, oh, does Neil Gaiman read the audiobook? And my friend said, yes, he does. And I was like, oh, well, then I immediately need to actually check out the audiobook. So I'm actually, yeah, in the process of listening to the audiobook of this right now. Needless to say, I am loving it. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because probably my next video will be a review of this. So, yeah, that's Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. And then my extremely special purchase this past month is also sort of along those lines, because it's another Neil Gaiman book, sort of. There was a very special sale on Amazon. I was able to get this for more than 50% off. I think it was like 55% off or 60% off on Amazon for like just a couple of days. And apologies, I'm gonna have a really hard time with this because it's enormous. This is an enormous book, so be patient with me. So I don't know if this is even fully in frame. So this is the Complete American Gods graphic novel collection. So yeah, this is so American Gods was adapted into several into a comic book series a few years ago, and this is the enormous special edition hardcover omnibus of all of them. It's a beautiful book. I love the white book with the gold foiling on it. It's gorgeous. The spine is beautiful. It has the gold edges on the pages. Yeah. The artwork is beautiful. I love this. This is my new favorite thing. This is my new favorite thing. And yeah, the slipcase is also just absolutely beautiful. That's the front. And that's the back. It's gorgeous. And so yeah, I was able to get this for like 50 or 60 bucks when it's normally like 130. So, I was really happy with that. So this is like, yeah, it's enormous. It's so heavy, but this is like literally my new favorite thing. This is gonna look really great, especially once I get my Good Omens graphic novel that I pre-ordered via the Kickstarter late last year. These look really good on the shelf next to each other, I bet, because my edition of Good Omens is also gonna have a nice slipcase with it, because I did that. I ordered the slipcase for it and everything. So, yeah. So that's me and my Neil Gaiman, my little Neil Gaiman obsession. So that's what I've purchased in the last month or so. And yeah, in terms of like my actual reading plans for the month, as I said, I've already started. I'm currently reading both. I'm listening to Norse mythology on audio, and I've just started Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. So obviously those will be there. I think this month my general goal is going to be to kind of focus more on my physical TBR, books that I actually own, and reading some of those because they're starting to stack up. And I want to knock a few more books off of my physical TBR. Especially because last month, I did make a mistake in my last video. I said I only read one book that I actually own. I did read 2 books that I actually own last month, but still only 2 out of 9. The rest were all library books, which is fine. That doesn't bother me really, except that I feel like, especially because I purchased more books last month than I read from my physical TBR, I feel like I want to try to make more of a dent in my actual physical TBR this month. So I did finish one final library book for the time being. And, you know, almost certainly I'll be doing some audiobooks and stuff. I don't usually purchase audiobooks. Pretty much all the audiobooks I listen to are library checkouts. So that'll be like my library checkouts for the month probably will be whatever audiobooks I read. But in terms of my actual physical reading, I'm going to be mostly focusing on books that I own. So once I'm done with Royal Assassin, and I'm also still, as I said last month, I'm trying to focus on sort of continuing and completing and catching up with series that I have already started before starting a bunch of new things. So with that in mind, I do have several books that I own that are continuations of series that I am definitely going to be prioritizing in April. So again, like I'm not gonna talk at length about any of these because I've mentioned all of them like multiple times at this point. But yeah, so like Power Unbound, I own this. This is the final book in a trilogy. So like 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm gonna read this. Like this is probably gonna be the next thing that I read after I finish Royal Assassin. And also, you know, Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. Again, this is a catch up. Right? Once I've finished this, then I'll be completely caught up with this series. So almost certainly going to read this pretty quickly. As well as the next in the Discworld series, which is Sorcery. I haven't read Discworld in a couple of months now. I think the last one I read was in January still. So it's time to get back to this. And also, same with Tolkien, I definitely want to start Return of the Shadow, at least start Return of the Shadow this month, or try to, if I possibly can. So that's that. So those are just some selection. For in terms of like other stuff, it's been a little while since I've read a book from my Storygraph Reads the World challenge, and so I'll probably try to start Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James, because that is on my list and I do own it. This is the start of a trilogy, but that's okay. I'll manage. That's fine. I'm okay with that, because this is something that I want to read anyway. I want to prioritize this one, so you know, that's another strong possibility. Also, you know, for my classic pick for the month, I'm probably going to try to switch gears a little bit. I've been reading some more like 19th century-ish stuff lately, and so and sort of domestic drama type things. But this month, I'm gonna probably try a 20th century dystopian of some sort. So I have either Brave New World by Aldous Huxley here, or Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. One of these two will probably be my classic pick for the month. I'm not sure whichever one I feel like at the moment, you know, at any given point is fine. So yeah, that's sort of like my, what I would say are my priorities for the month of April in terms of reading. You know, as always, will I get to all of them this month? I don't know, maybe. It depends on my mood, on my pace, on the pace of my reading, on how much other stuff I'm doing. I'm currently renovating my bedroom, so I don't have as much time to read. It's like my renovation project is taking, you know, a few weeks. We had to drywall. We hired somebody to drywall. He finished, and so now I'm like doing the rest of it. Like I'm painting, and then I'm gonna, you know, we're gonna do some other stuff. I'm gonna move in. We're gonna do some rearranging. I'm gonna do some rearranging of the house once I get settled into the bedroom properly. At which point I may switch my filming location, because I might actually be able to start filming in front of an actual bookshelf once I get things rearranged to my liking. So look forward to that maybe in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks maybe. We'll see. But yeah, otherwise, as always, you know, it's just gonna be mood reading, whatever mood strikes me. But yeah, I am going to be trying to focus on books that I actually own, since I've sort of started to fall behind a little bit on keeping up with my physical TBR. You know, as I've said in previous videos, I don't mind having a physical TBR, but I don't want it to get out of hand either. You know, I'm fine with having like sort of in the 15 to 20 book range on a physical TBR. Like, I don't want to get to 0, because it's nice to always have something, you know, that's sort of sitting around waiting for me to pick it up and read it. But I also I want to make sure that I'm sort of keeping up to and actually like reading the things that I buy, since books are pricey, and especially because I mostly buy print books rather than like ebooks or audiobooks. They take up space on my shelves too. So if something's taking up space on my shelf, I want it to be there because, you know, I'm actually getting something out of it and I'm actually going to be reading it. So yeah, those are my reading plans and my book haul for this month. What are your reading plans for the month of April? Have you purchased any cool books recently? You know, let me know in the comments below. And like this video if you want, subscribe if you want, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!